What's going on, everyone? Jesse here with a video on a few pieces of advice I'd love to give to those who are considering getting into wedding photography. So assuming that you are a photographer and you're looking to try out a new genre, these are a few things I think that you should hear before going headfirst as a primary photographer for a wedding. So let's get right into it. Number one, in no particular order, first and foremost, I think that it is vitally important that you join in with another studio, another photographer, and assist them both as an assistant and work as a second photographer as well before you take on the role of primary photographer. This is going to give you an opportunity to experience all different types of wedding days, because each one's going to be unique. There'll be a lot of similarities, but it gives you this opportunity in a less sort of pressure situation to be able to see all the ins and outs of what goes on throughout the course of a day, what you can expect, all kinds of challenges that will come about. You can learn and take mental notes as to how that particular photographer you're working for got through those issues, and perhaps come up with your own solutions so that when it's your turn to take the reins, you'll be able to think and react quickly, which is super important on the wedding day. But again, just putting in the time, several weddings as an assistant at a minimum, and then slowly working your way up to shooting as a second photographer. This gives you a different perspective, again, where you're not right in the spotlight and you're able to take different types of shots, a little bit more outside the box, explore different angles, and just see things from a different perspective without having that pressure of the primary photographer. So if you could do as many of these, I think at least assisting for almost a full wedding season is important. And then as you become more comfortable jumping in as a second photographer, do as many of those as you can. It's only going to help you for when it's your turn to be in control and all eyes are on you. So there's no chances for mistakes there. There's no cushion that you're going to have. So you got to be able to think quickly, react quickly, and do that while also acting professional and courteous and respectful. So very important, first and foremost, get yourself out there. Don't just jump in and try to wing it. I don't think that's going to be a good setup for you or for your couples. Number two, master the timeline. Okay, so when it comes down to a wedding day, if there's no event planner or wedding coordinator, day of coordinator, then it's up to us as photographers really to drive the day. Even if there's cinematographers involved as well, more often than not, they tend to go off of the photographer's workflow. It's not always the case, but from what I typically have experienced over the last, almost 12, 13 years, that's the way it goes. So we drive the ship, and as long as you're doing it in a courteous and respectful manner and you're working together with a cinematographer if they're involved, that's definitely super important, not only for your working relationship, but with the couple as well, because you don't want to cause tension in front of them on the day they should be having the most fun. So mastering the timeline is going to come down to understanding what it takes for you specifically to get through all the most important moments of the day, and that includes the bride getting ready. It's going to include the creative portraits, any shots that you need to take after ceremonies or at churches, and then of course the family formals. So those are all very important moments where time is of the essence, and you want to be able to build a schedule that's based off of what your expectations are to create those moments. It's okay to have a different timeline than another photographer or another studio. That's, again, goes back to why I think assisting is important, so you get a feel for how they operate and how you might operate differently. But coming up with a good schedule that starts from the beginning of the day, setting expectations as to when hair and makeup should be done, building in time for driving and for traffic and all those little things. You have to build in buffers because nothing ever goes exactly according to plan. That is going to set up a day that's going to be as stress-free as possible for not only yourself and your team, but also for your couples, most importantly. So mastering the timeline is going to make you look like an all-star. And again, this usually happens from the start of the day up until you get to the venue. Once you get to the venue and the reception, generally they're going to have someone on site that's going to take the reins. And so you've done your job up to that point, and you kind of just go with the flow from there. But a timeline can make or break a wedding, and I think it's vital. It's crucially important to put a little bit of effort into being great with time management for that sake, for the sake of your clients, and to not have you running from A to B like a madman, and your couples will feel stressed and rushed, and it's going to take away from their enjoyment of the day. So keep that in mind. Master that timeline. Number three is going to be being comfortable working in all kinds of light and situations. So whether or not you favor off-camera flash or you might favor natural light photography, I think it is crucially important, I'll say it again and again, to have a good understanding of everything. So you might end up shooting a ceremony outside in midday sun. That's going to be really harsh light. You got to know how to handle your camera and settings and put yourself in a good position to deliver usable images. But you also might find yourself at the reception with no ambient light, no windows, dark ceilings, dark walls, nothing to bounce off of. You have to know how to operate a flash, and preferably, I would say, off camera. But at the very least, you got to know how to operate flash. So just practicing all different types of things, learning how to use a diffuser, learning how to use a reflector. These are basic things you should have in your bag. Are all going to be helpful to you. And now you can still favor one thing over the other. Like, I love off-camera flash, but if the natural light is beautiful, I'm not going to run away from it. And at the same time, if it is hard and difficult to use and I can't use off-camera flash, I know that I'm confident in my ability to utilize hard light or harsh light in ways that can be very creative and create something really good out of a situation that might not seem good. So, having a well-rounded skill set across the board is going to save you, again, in situations where you may have less control. So definitely go ahead and spend the time on the areas you may be a little bit weaker in and get comfortable as possible with those. And then when those situations come up, you're going to, again, be like a rock star. So definitely well-rounded skill set, super important. Number 4 is going to be, let's say, having really good backup systems and, backup gear and backup systems. So you can't go out and shoot a wedding day with a single camera and feel comfortable. That would give me the worst anxiety in the world. Things happen, equipment breaks, things go bad. Sometimes it's nothing to do with you and your preparedness in terms of as a photographer and knowing how to work your equipment. Equipment just fails sometimes. And if you don't have at least 2 camera bodies, I would recommend having a third just as an extra backup. Multiple batteries, multiple memory cards, multiple lights. So don't just go out there with one flash. At least have a second flash handy at the very least. And this is going to not only obviously set the stage if something does happen, you're going to just seamlessly go to your backups like nothing ever happened at all. But it's going to save you from having to explain to your couples who paid good money to have you there what was the reason why you weren't prepared in that type of situation. So it really looks really bad as a professional to not have proper backups. And then that also translates also to the other side of things, which is after the wedding. So making sure that you're backing up your photos and backing them up to multiple locations and multiple devices and multiple, physical storage as well as cloud storage. So it's important to have multiple copies. You can have one on your computer, you can have one on an external hard drive, a second external hard drive, but make sure that drive is stored off-site in a different location, because if you have 10 copies of a wedding, it doesn't save you if all 10 copies are in the same location and something bad really happens, like a flood or a fire, God forbid. So, having good backup systems and having good a collection of backup gear when you go into the wedding day is it's a no-brainer, and it's a little bit of an investment, but the flip side of that, the cost of having to explain to your clients why you may have lost files or you can't continue to shoot the wedding because of equipment failure, that's going to ruin you. It just will. And last but not least, I mean, this list could go on and on, but really, something that gets overlooked a lot is sort of prioritizing your communication skills over your gear. And what I mean by that is don't get caught up necessarily on having to get the latest and greatest, lens and camera. Chances are, if you do have equipment that was purchased within the last 5 years, you're gonna be probably pretty good position to handle that as long as you understand your camera. It's gonna get you through most of the situations you're gonna come across without struggling much. But what you need to be able to do is what you need to be able to realize is that people are hiring you for you, and they're not hiring your camera. So don't get caught up in the gear and that you think that the couple or the clients are going to really be making their hiring decision based off whether you shoot with a full frame or whether you shoot with a crop sensor, whatever it might be. What's more important is that you have good communication skills, you have good people skills. This is a day where you're with these people for a good 12 plus hours sometimes. And making them feel comfortable is critical to getting the best expressions, the best body language from them. Being able to be vocal and guide them and direct them because they're not going to know what to do is important. So you have to be able to you know, act out in a professional manner, in a fun manner. You have to show personality. These are all things that are going to make and break the photos, because from a technical side, you could be flawless with your execution, your, just say the composition and the settings and the lighting, everything could look perfect. But if your couples are tense and uptight, you're going to see that in their jaw, you're going to see that in their shoulders. Their hands could be awkwardly positioned. So really being able to direct and guide in those scenarios, and also just being able to communicate before the wedding even happens so that they know a little bit about you, you know a little bit about them. You're not a complete stranger on the day of the wedding. This again is going to be critical to really developing that great relationship, and it's going to bring out the best in people. I think first and foremost, the number one I think compliment we get as a studio is always tied back to the way that we were able to remain calm no matter what the scenario, and to be positive and to be encouraging and all those things. So even as you're shooting and maybe things aren't you know, working out exactly as you planned, as you look into the camera or the back of the camera, you always have to stay positive. You always have to use great body language, upbeat, you know, compliment them, give them positive affirmations all the way through. And it's going to make or break the difference. Now you can go ahead and figure out your issues as you go ahead and switch a lens, which was, you know, a common thing. If you're having some issues, just say, I'd like to switch up this lens to get a different perspective, and then you can work through any issues you're having. But never let any issues you're having come out and be visible to anyone around you, especially the couple. So don't ever say things like, why isn't it working? Why isn't my light going off? Think of ways to say, you know, I love this, I actually like it better with natural light, so can we pivot to that? And that's your way around like just getting past an issue for the short term. So everything from communicating to being personable, showing your personality, being a positive light, a positive energy, that is going to go much longer of a way for you on the wedding day than worrying about the A9 II versus the A9 III, or the 50 versus the, you know, 55 millimeter. So don't get caught up in the gear. Worry more about the personal communication, the personal connection, and I think that's going to put you in a much better position to be successful throughout the course of the wedding day. So really, just to summarize, it's, you know, master that timeline, spend some time working as an assistant and a second shooter before you jump in as a primary. You know, get comfortable working in all kinds of situations with natural light, with hard light, bad light, use that diffuser, that reflector, get comfortable with off-camera flash, all those things. Have a well-rounded skill set. Prioritize your communication skills over your gear to some extent, and have great backup systems and backup gear to cover you in case of an unfortunate incident. So those are my suggestions for now. I'm sure there's many, many more. If you have any questions, if you want to drop a comment, if it's something you're unsure about, if you're thinking about getting into wedding photography specifically, I'd love to help you out in any way possible. So drop a comment, send me a message, subscribe to the channel for future videos, and I wish you the best of luck.